Well, thank you very much for joining me. And just while we're getting used to the setup, I just have a question just to see where everybody's coming from. So if you are on the interactive presentation, you can drag that little red dot and put it somewhere on the map so that we can see where you're coming from. I put a map of New York because I know a lot of the people are from Allegany Nature Pilgrimage normally, and a lot of them come from New York, so that's why I put that one. I see some dots moving across the screen. Let's see if I can, okay. So this should let you be able to see some of the dots moving across the screen. Let me check over here. Maybe not yet. Okay, there's some more dots moving. So I see a lot of people are coming from Western New York, which is where our pilgrimage normally takes place. And as we're getting used to this, I'm just going to keep on going along. I have another question as we keep moving. So when I start this presentation, and this is the similar, is almost the same presentation that I have given in the past at Allegany. I like to know why people have chosen to attend the program, just so that I know that some of my friends are here. I saw a couple of friendly faces pop up. Thank you so much for coming to join me. But just to let me know if, what you're looking for in a photography presentation. Kelly says that she always loves doing nature photography. Always looking for new tips and tricks. Oh, I'm glad it sounded interesting. I hope we are interesting for you today. Coming from Colorado, woohoo! California, I love it. So a lot of people look like they enjoy photography, and they're looking to find some tips. So a lot of this, again, it's a beginner's photography class, so I'm not going to get too heavy into everything, but I hope that you can find something that you can use. When you are doing photography, one of the first things that you need to make sure and do is think about why you are taking a picture to begin with. And there we go. Oops, we skipped a slide. I was going on to the next one. How confident are you already with taking pictures that you are proud of? So if you are on the interactive site, I apologize. It's the first time I've used it with Zoom and with Pear Deck. If you take that little red icon again, you can move that on the slide. How do you take a picture? Means you're way low on the slide, and I take awesome pictures already. Or if you're somewhere in the middle. So I see a lot of people are already great at taking pictures. Nobody wants to move into that. I'm absolutely confident in all my pictures yet. And I don't know that I take some awesome pictures already, but not every single one of my pictures is going to be in that awesome section. So I think I would be about where all of you are putting your dots. So that is awesome. Okay, now, one of the first things when you're taking a picture, you need to think about why you're taking a picture. So immediately, if you are seeing an animal that you haven't seen and you just want to record, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this animal. The first thing that you have to do is just take it fast. You're not going to be setting up your camera. You're just going to try and capture that moment. Because if you've ever tried to take a picture of an animal, you'll know that it is not always going to stay there for as long as you want. And in those situations, there are times when taking a picture may not even be your best option. Sometimes switching over to your video option might be the best. And if you're on the interactive platform, you might have to click on the link. I'm going to click it and it should go straight there for us seeing the presentation. So this was a moment where I switched straight to video because I knew I was not going to capture what I wanted to capture. I was at Ring Lake Neck. Wildlife refuge, and the eagle grabbed the fish right off the water and took it up to the nest. And if your sound is turned up, you might be able to hear the cry, and the eagle cries out and the mate comes right up. And this was something that I was far away. I wasn't going to get a great picture, so I turned right to video just so that I could capture the moment because it was such an interesting thing for me to be able to see. I see eagles at Ring Neck all the time, but I don't always get to capture a moment where they're catching fish and then feeding it to the little ones. So that was very exciting for me, and not a picture moment for my camera. It was absolutely switch over to video moment. Sometimes you're taking a picture because you want to try and ID the animal later. And in those moments, you want to try and get, hold on, sorry, I left my. It didn't want me to turn it off because the little thing from Zoom keeps coming down. So, okay, now it's turned off. Sometimes you need a detailed record of all of your animal markings so that you can ID it. So in those instances, you want to get everything that you can possibly get. You want to get your toes and tails and any images of any body part of the animal that might help you ID it later, and the surrounding even is going to help you. So here is one where I got toes, I got beak, I got all of the body parts so that I could find out later that I had found a snowy egret. It's a nice looking picture, but it doesn't have that oomph to it that a lot of your pictures that you're trying to get. Sometimes you're practicing a specific technique on your camera, and in those situations, you want to make sure that you're taking notes. And sometimes you're taking a picture to try and really get a pleasing photograph that other people are going to look at and go, wow, you take amazing pictures. And hopefully that is what we're going to talk about today. When you're going to do photography, it starts before you even leave the house. So before you go out, you have to make sure your batteries are charged in your camera, you have extra batteries, your SD card is empty, or you have a packet with extra SD cards. That is the number one thing that you need to think about. Dressing and preparing for the weather. It's horrible to get out and then you're in a downpour of rain and you got your camera and you don't have anything to protect it with. So you always want to prepare for the weather. If you're looking to take pictures of one animal in particular, you can research that subject in order to get better pictures. And then you know where to be, how the animal is going to act, and you'll be able to get that information so that your pictures are going to be better pictures. Other things that you might want, I don't always take with me, but I often take with me are a tripod if I know I'm going to be set up somewhere for a long time, a seat. There are some little seats that you can clamp right onto yourself so that you have a little cushion if you're going to sit out someplace. Garbage bag, I always bring a garbage bag. I'll talk about that in just a second. And if you're taking notes on camera features, a notepad and a pen are helpful. So this is something I can't help you with, but knowing your camera is extremely important. When you have this fox sitting there nursing her little cubs right in front of you, you don't want to go, oh shoot, how do I figure out how to zoom, or how do I figure out how to make the lighting better? You have to know your camera before you get out there so you're not stuck in that moment. So practicing your own camera is very important. So you want to learn your features and learn when you need to use those features. If you do not know your camera, most cameras nowadays have online videos so that you can search your camera and be able to find out how to use different features on your camera. Practice with one feature at a time so that you really understand what it does and how to access it so that you know what you need to do in the moment. And environmental ethics. When you're going out, for me, it is so important to clean as you go. I know that as naturalists, a lot of us are already into leave no trace, and I really try to leave places better than I find it. I hate going and trying to take a picture, and as I'm zooming in, I see like a cigarette butt or a piece of paper, and I'm like, oh, this would be such a wonderful picture if only there wasn't garbage right next to that animal. So I'm constantly trying to pick up as I go. Now it's very important to wear gloves and make sure that you're not contracting anything when you're picking up that garbage, but I still try and pick up as I go. It's important not to bait animals for a picture. We can harm them by getting them used to coming to animals, or I mean, we are also animals. Harm them by getting them used to coming to humans, and we may not always be feeding them exactly what they need at their time of life. So baiting animals is never a good thing for a picture. Don't disturb or put animals in danger. Learn the signs of when an animal is upset, and if that is happening, you need to back away. Don't lead predators to nest sites by going to the same site over and over again, creating a trail so that another animal goes, ooh, I wonder what's over here. This is definitely some path that a lot of animals are taking. So make sure that you are not upsetting the animals that you're trying to take pictures of. I hate going on some of these photography sites, and I can clearly see that an animal is upset and frustrated in their picture, and I think, ooh, that was a time you should have backed away. That was not good for the animal that you were trying to take a picture of. Trying to stay hidden really helps. It helps the animal feel safe and protected, and it lets you get to see the animal in a way that you're seeing their natural behaviors. And the camera does not give you a license to be able to go wherever you want. You need to respect property laws, respect park laws. If they want you to stay in a certain area, you can't cross those areas just because, oh, this would make a really cute shot. Your camera is a great tool, but it does not make you unable to have ramifications from laws. So one of the great things about digital photography is that it is free now to make mistakes. You don't have to buy more film and get it developed in order to see how good your picture is. You can look right away and you can see, oops, let's try again. So digital photography has done a lot to helping everybody get better at photography. You can practice as much as you want. You don't need to be an expert anymore to have an amazing photo. You just have to be in the right place at the right time and take that great picture. Each amazing picture, though, you have to think, probably has many not as great pictures that are not worth showing. So I was sitting one time for probably an hour or two, I'm not sure at this moment, and I got this awesome picture of this little goldfinch. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. But if you knew me, then you would know that I had lots and lots and lots. I just sat there and I just kept taking picture and picture and picture and picture. So you may only share one of those pictures, but taking them over and over and over again helps you get better. Take the same picture from a variety of angles, directions, and views. Sometimes this is an option. Sometimes the animal's not going to stay there long enough for you to know that. But it's always fun to experiment. When I was working at Five Rivers, there was this tree with a little owl hole that was about, like 7-10 feet off the floor. It was not very high that this owl would sit in. And this red morph of the screech owl would sit there, and you could take classes around this little loop, and the owl would sit there. The gray morph, not so much. The gray morph you would rarely ever see sitting in there. And if you saw them, then you saw her, him, them scooting right away because they did not want to stay. But this one was so photogenic. And because it was on the loop, I could walk right around this little tree. And this owl was following me one day. And I was getting different images as I was moving around. and I get a different feel as the owl pops its head out. One of the best ways to improve, take pictures. Take your camera everywhere, take it out. If you're not actually taking pictures, do you really want to get better? Don't be afraid to take pictures in sun, with clouds, slight rain, dusk. Slight rain actually works really well for me because I find I can get a little bit closer to animals before they go, oh, who are you and where'd you come from? A lot of the photography sites will tell you that there's one moment in the day, this hour that has the perfect lighting. Well, the perfect lighting, if you're behind a tree, might not be the same as if you're in a field or if you're by a lake and getting a reflection. So I take pictures all the time, and sometimes they are better than other pictures, but if I'm not out there, then I'm not gonna get any better. When going for a walk, I find it important to take a picture as soon as you get started. And they're not pictures that I use for much of anything. It's not a wonderful, ooh, look at that picture. But what it does is it gets me into photography mode. My camera is out, I'm ready to go. I get into the habit of picking it up, and right then is my last chance to check, is my SD card in there? I tried to take a picture, oh no, you have no SD card. You cannot save this. Oops, I'm right at my car. I don't have to go anywhere, or right at the house because I haven't left. And this is my last chance to notice if I have a low battery. So taking that first picture right away is always helpful for me. And in order to get a good picture, you need to start with a strong foundation. And the number one thing that I notice about other people's pictures, keep as still as possible, especially if you have a long zoom on your camera and you are trying to keep that steady. You have to keep still in order to get that great shot. And when I say that, I mean, you have to be still before you take the picture. You have to stay still while you're taking the picture, and you need to stay still even after the picture is taken. I've seen some people go click and their camera is gone, and I'm like, did that picture really take it before you started to move it away? Clicking and moving it is going to give you a little bit of a fuzzy picture, so you want to stay absolutely still. Remember your autofocus on point and shoot cameras. On cell phones, I think my cell phone anyway, you can press onto the place where you want to focus on and then take the picture, is how I autofocus on my phone. On my camera, I hold my button down just a little bit, and it'll help to focus on what they think that they want me to take a picture of. But you have to pay attention on those autofocuses before you press it all the way down, because it doesn't always see what you're seeing. So for example, I used autofocus on this picture, but the deer is what I was looking at. But my camera thought, oh, let's take a picture of those twigs. And that is what is in focus. And the camera doesn't always know what you're trying to look at. So make sure that you're paying attention to what the camera sees. Look at everything in your frame when you are lining up your shot. This is not nature photography. This is an Easter celebration with my family. And it's a fun little picture, and it's cute, and we're all smiling and lovely. But when I see this picture, one of the first things I see is that the bunny rabbit on the lapel of my jacket is sucking up the straw from that drink. And if I was behind the camera, I would hope that I would have taken a step back and gone, let's move that glass out of the way. That is a distraction that doesn't need to be there. Check your picture after you take the picture for quality. Oops, I thought I had an image there. Make sure that you take that picture and check that it is the picture that you thought you had. You have a digital camera. If the animal is still there, you can try and take the picture again. See if it's a little fuzzy. So when you're taking a picture, you've already got that foundation down. You want to make sure and focus on the details. And as you are a human, one of the things that we notice, even if we don't realize we're doing it, when we look at a picture, we focus in on the eyes. And if the eyes are in focus, the picture looks better to us. And if the eyes are out of focus, then we feel that there's something a little off with the picture. Even if we don't always know that we're doing that, we are looking at the eyes. So you want to make sure those eyes are really, really clear. And the picture that I had showed you a little earlier, you can see that the goldfinch that I like, the big one on the side, the eyes are clear. I've got a little bit of sun coming through the beak. I like how the colors are shining in that picture. And the ones that I didn't show, I don't get that clear look at the eyes. I'm just checking the chat, making sure that we're still okay. Okay, we look all right so far. On animals, if you have a great picture, you're hoping to see those individual feathers, whiskers. Everything is not going to be in 3D every time that you're focusing on things, and your aperture setting can help make some of those things fuzzy so that your depth of field is really focusing in on that one image that you want to look at. But always try and look eyes first, and then go for the feathers, and then go for those other things. In this picture, you can see the grass in the front is a little bit blurry. The grass in the back is a little bit blurry because the focus is on that animal, and that is the thing that I'm trying to make sure stays in focus. Thank you, Lon. I'm getting boosts. You want to limit your distractions when you're taking your pictures so that your image is really standing out and popping out. You want to try and keep your scene simple, avoid things that are too busy, and contrast can both help and hurt your picture. This was a tiny little gray tree frog that I was following around my yard one day. And this picture is okay. I don't have my eye clarity on this one, but when they moved and got onto the top of the sedum, the color differences on this one really make that pop out. And again, you can see that around the gray tree frog is in focus, and some of the other things are a little blurred out so that you don't notice those quite as much. But it really stands out on that different scene, the color. Location and direction. When you are taking a picture, you need to think, is this the best place for me to be in order to get the best picture? And sometimes you have the option and sometimes you don't. I came across this frog in my backyard and I moved to try and get a better picture because I thought being straight on would give me a better focus for this picture. And then I even changed it a little bit more. I can take out that border and get an even better picture. So constantly think as you're taking your picture, don't just click, click, click. Think about what you want to do with a picture in the images as you're going along. Am I on the animal's level as much as possible? And this really helps you get a better perspective and a better picture. As you come across animals are not always the best shot. I found this katydid and I was like, oh, cool. And I could take this picture and I could walk away. But I thought, how can I make this better? And so I got down onto the animal's level. And by getting on the animal's level, I can get a completely different feel. And at the same time, you'll also notice that I took out the distractions of the grass and the stems in the background so that that green on yellow contrast was right there and right in front of me. Some of you know the owl at the snowy owls that were at the Outer Harbor this year. This was another one where I found it, and this animal just sits there. If you find it, it sits there and sits there and sits there and sits there. So it's a great way for you to be able to try some photography. I was standing on this little platform and sort of looking down on it. So I was on the ground in order to get a better picture. In order to change my contrast, I got down more on the level. And as you compare the two pictures, I also was able to crop out, I can't crop out the metal that the snowy owl is sitting on, but I can crop out other distractions. I apologize for my misspeech. But looking down, the owl is almost the same color as that water, but the rocks that were also in my image really made that contrast stand out better. And I didn't care that when people were walking by that I was on the ground. You have to have a little bit of that too. Is there anything distracting in the background? When you look up and see birds, a lot of times you're going to have a lot of other twigs and branches. And you have to think, can I move myself a little bit so that all of those branches are not in my shots? So really to think while you're taking your pictures and look around and maybe even rotate how things are going that could be going in your picture before you figure out where the best place to stand is. I was out with one of my friends and I would walk with them all the time. And I realized after a little while that they would constantly be behind me. They were a little bit taller than I was. And so I feel like they were noticing that where I was standing was the best place to get that picture and they would fall in right behind me. Can I improve the lighting or a shadow? This month I was outside and I was getting bombarded by peepers in my yard, and I wish I had earphones on. I was so close to them, they were ringing inside my brain, I think. And it was dark, it was at night, and I got this picture of the peepers, but I felt that I needed to bring in a little bit more light so that I could take it. And by adding that flash of light, that extra floodlight, I was able to get better color, better quality. You can see little tiny warts on that little peeper. And as I walked around the yard, I even found that I was able to get a better contrast picture because I found a little peeper that was in my heather in the back. So that even added more to my picture when I was able to find that little peeper. Sometimes you can't force the light. And in this situation, I found a snowy owl, and the picture is fun, but there are branches in the way. And I was trying to find some more light. So I kept walking around the tree, and okay, I can get so the light isn't behind the snowy owl so that I can get a better picture, but I'm still working on those branches. I keep moving. Nope, not quite right. There's a branch right in front of the owl's face, until I could get a picture that I was really satisfied with in the contrast of how the light was going. With location and direction, sometimes it's important to remember where I took this picture, and the snowy owl was one of those moments because this was my first like actual find of a snowy owl where someone didn't point it to me. Someone did tell me in the general vicinity where it was, but I had to still find the owl. And for me, I took a picture of the tree because I was like, look at where I found this owl. I was so excited. So in that instance, taking a picture of the place was important. Can I change the feeling of the picture by taking it from a different perspective? And this first picture is also an animal getting on the level. So I came across this snapping turtle when she was trying to lay eggs. So she was going to be in the same place for a while. So I was able to move around and change the perspective. And I got on the animal's level, and I really focused in on some of those, that face. This was a toad that I came on as I was hiking up an incline, and she did not move, they did not move. And so I was able to play with this toad a little bit. I didn't actually touch it, but I moved myself around so that I could get a different feeling. And this was more getting on the animal's level. And because I was on a hill, I actually was able to get under the toad and look up. And that gives you this feeling of this giant toad king and looking down. And as I kept taking pictures, I noticed that if I moved myself, I can make this little archway with the grass. So I kept playing around and moving myself, and this toad did not move. And they were just waiting for me to pass on by. And I was probably there about 5 minutes just looking at this toad, moving myself all around. Okay, probably maybe 15 minutes. And then I just walked along and it was just sitting there and stayed, and I walked away. Sometimes you can, especially with digital cameras, you can document changes and take pictures from the same place over and over again. Before this tree fell at Rhinestone, I know tons of photographers have already seen some of this same owl in other pictures, this Allegany nature pilgrimage on some of the slides. This owl sat in this hole so many times when you would walk by, so that you could continue to look and you could take different pictures, and on different days it looked different. The lighting was different because of where the sun was, how cold it was out, how much it wanted to poof, how angry it was at visitors. And this one was, I don't even know how, this one was so high up. And sometimes it wasn't there. So my question to you is, how could, and this is another one that you can type back in the chat, or you can type back right on this the Pear Deck app. Why would it be important? How would it help you in order to take the same picture of the same place over and over and over again? What could you learn? I'll give you a minute. Okay, Cami says that sometimes some views are better than others. Kelly says that she would learn differences in lighting and shadow and how that affects her pictures. Susan's talking about the best condition that you can photograph in. Cecily, I hope I said that right, is saying that she could find the best time of day to be able to take that particular picture. Kathy Sillick, hi Kathy Sillick, is also talking about what time of day might be better. Another Kelly said to document how things change over time, how the behaviors of the animal changes. And that's one of the things I love to do is see how things are different over and over again. Good job, guys. So one of the things with photography nowadays is that scientists watch your pictures. And it is awesome to be able to jump on some of those sites and help other scientists. So one of the ones that I use, not as much as I should, you might have seen the presentation yesterday from Marcus, is inaturalist.org. And if you, I think you could right click on the link and be able to pull that up so that you can look at it at another time. We're gonna keep going, I'm not gonna open them up. But iNaturalist is a way to put your pictures out there and other people can ID them for you. And scientists can use that information, or land conservancies can use that information in order to build databases and see what animals are in different areas and see which animals aren't. Because if nobody is taking pictures of certain animals, why aren't they seeing that animal out in that area anymore? Thank you for putting it right into the chat box for me. Another site is Project Feeder Watch. And besides taking pictures of birds at your bird feeder, they also want to know about eye disease, and your photos can help identify as the birds are flying in and out. You don't always necessarily know, but if you're taking the time to stop and look at those pictures, you can see if there's eye disease in those birds. And if you don't know what that looks like, I have a couple pictures.
Right, I will put this up
and this also lets you know.
Hey, Heather.
Thank you very much, Steph.
I'm just going to jump in 1 second.
Yep.
All participants have been muted upon entry to this room. So for the meeting, and just to allow Heather to do the best presentation that she can, I ask that everyone keep themselves muted unless Heather opens the floor for questions, and that will just allow everyone to have a chance to hear what Heather is speaking about.
Thank you. So we'll take that said picture back off. But One website, you can find your own citizen science project. This is a really long one. If you want to open that one up, you can find citizen science projects on crabs and worms and birds and butterflies and any wildlife, trees. So if you have a certain hobby that you like to take this type of picture, you can find a citizen science project that has the is researching the thing that you're looking at, and you can add those pictures to those projects. You're always going to edit your pictures when you get back in. So make sure that you save a picture before you start. Always try and keep your originals. I use this picture in Linneville, close to where I live. There are swans that hatch out every year, and I use this as a banner for something, but I made sure that I kept the original picture. One thing that I noticed is that I always have to straighten up my horizon. The longer I'm out in the field, the more my right arm starts to drip, and I have to push that back up. And it's great to know that I can go into my computer and I can straighten things back up so that my horizon is level again. You can, and you probably will crop your pictures, but you can never add a tail feather or an ear or something that you didn't get in an original picture. This heron was right at the edge when I was watching it for a long time. And I noticed that I was missing the reflection in the water. So that is something I wouldn't have been able to get back if I hadn't noticed it while I was there in the moment, looking at my pictures as I was taking them, that, oh, there's a reflection there. Let me see if I can capture that also. Consider the rule of thirds or off-centering your object when you're taking pictures. Looking at that image that I just took, you'll notice that the heron is set on that line of one of the thirds, and it's also looking into the frame of the picture. So it gives you that, that feeling of place, and it's not just the heron sitting there, it's the whole feeling that you get when you look at it. Excuse me. This screech owl that I had found, it may look like that I centered the hole, but what I was really doing when I was editing it and I was cropping it out is I put that eye right on the inner cross between those two. I can't think of how to say this right now, but on your thirds, when you look at that, those intersections, that's what I was looking for. That intersection is where I went and I put that eye so that it used that rule of thirds in order to help focus it into that corner, one of those sweet spots. Critique your work, always critique your work as you go along, and this helps you make better pictures in the future. So where do I get great shots? Allegany Nature Pilgrimage is always a great place to get great shots. Bird feeders and bird houses around your house. Those are places that your animals will congregate to. And you can get some great pictures that way of animals that you might not always see. My bird feeders are near a natural tree. And so I don't always focus on the bird feeder itself. I'll focus off into the tree to get those natural photos. And bird houses, birds always act so fun when they're trying to get those little ones to fledge out of the house. Flower gardens are great for pollinators and predators. A lot of people say, oh, I forget to take pictures of insects. I love bugs, so I'm always focusing in on those insects. And sometimes they're easier to get and capture than the birds that might be flying around. Make sure you're looking under things for insects. And again, don't always put your object right in the middle. Try and off-center it a little bit. Learn the trails near your home and go often. Often birds will go back to the same places over and over again to feed. And you'll start to learn, like we know where there's a kestrel that keeps going to the same tree near our house, and that's always fun to see. Look in holes. It's always fun to look in holes. You never know what's gonna pop up when you're looking in holes. Those are great places to get great shots. And try someplace new. You might not know where to look, but it'll give you different things to look at. When you're trying to take pictures of animals, you always need to listen because that's going to be your cue. Something's over there. I need to look. Oh, I just heard something up here. Listening is where you're going to find the animal that you're going to try and capture. And don't just run through a trail. You need to sit, you need to wait, you need to let the animals settle back in order for you to be able to see them the way they naturally would be. And I'm close to needing to end, but I've got a quick little quiz. I want to see how everybody's doing. Imagine you're out in a field and you're going to take the following pictures. What could you do to improve the picture? And you can think about changing it while you're out there or changing it after you get home and edit. So let's look at this one. What would you do? Remember, you can use chat too if you're not on the interactive. I see a lot of right answers, and there's many right answers. Good job, guys. Okay, so a lot of you talked about those sticks being in the way. I probably can't just move them because I've probably already zoomed in, but I can make sure, oops, it's not going to the next one. There we go. I can change my focus so that it's on the turtle, and I could move so that the turtle's more on the right. I move myself and make that turtle looking into the scene. How about this one? What would you do? Okay, I've got a few different things. Those are exactly the things I would do, you guys. You guys are awesome. So you guys said that you would straighten up the horizon, that you would be patient and wait to try and get some of those heads so that the heads are popping up so that you don't just see those butts of those swans. How about this one? What I want you to say may not be what you want to do. Woohoo! You guys are willing to type it, even if I don't know if you'd be willing to do it. Jessica said slowly get on the animal's level, so she added that in there. But most of you guys said to get on the animal's level. I also would crop out that porch wall if I still wanted to just get on top to get that top image, if I didn't want to get down on the animal's level. I like the exclamation points some of you are taking. Check your picture. Make sure that you got what you thought you got. You might not have gotten what you thought you got. Giving allergy meds to the deer may not be the best option. There's movement and there's focus, so we definitely want to stay still and stabilize our camera if it was us, or take the picture again. I'm almost done. There's only a couple left. Good job, guys. You guys are awesome. I could definitely improve the lighting by adding some forced light in there. Move that flower and take out some of those distractions. I could do all of those things and use the rule of thirds. Good job. So I've got different background color, and I was able to do that. Brighten it up a little bit, change the angle, rule of thirds, wait for the wings. The background is distracting, and nobody noticed the tail. I actually chopped the poor little thing's tail off. So by moving it a little bit, I was able to get a different angle. So you can't take me with you, but this website is a DEC website that talks about almost all the things that I talked about today. If that is something that you're interested in, you want it in a format that you could print out and don't want to watch this whole video again. But thank you so much for joining me today. And that is it for me.
Thank you so much, Heather. That was a great presentation, and thank you for introducing us to this new slide deck technology. Everyone, thank you for participating and taking part in the interactive portions of Heather's presentation. We do have 3 remaining programs coming up this afternoon: a fungi walk at 3, a Montezuma birding adventure at 4, and also a pollinators discussion at 7. Unfortunately, we need to get rolling and set up for our next presenter, but Heather, it looks like you do have quite a presence on Facebook, and I'm sure you'd be willing to answer any questions or have a discussion with anyone who's curious.
I love talking about photography.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we hope to see you in person next year for ANP 2021.